Welcome, and this is going to be a tutorial on installing Server 2003 on a virtual machine. We'll be using VMware Fusion, which is the VMware product for Mac OS X, but it should work in just about any virtual machine environment you want, or even installation instructions for standalone. So let's get started. Start up VMware Fusion. And you'll see here that you have the opening window and create a new virtual machine, and well, that's what we're planning on doing, so let's click that. Now we're not going to have a disk right now, so what we want to do is continue without the disk. And we're not going to use an installation disk such as a CD. What we're going to use is an installation file, and I've already moved my Server 2003 file into a directory. If you want to use your CD, if you want to make a CD image like an ISO, either way works. I just do this because it's so much faster to read from the hard drive. So we'll hit choose. We'll hit continue. We pick what operating system. It's Windows, of course. And make sure that it's picked on standard edition, because we don't need anything fancier than that. Hit continue. We're not going to use the easy install. Hit continue. And there we go. We're ready to go. So what we need to do now is we need to customize our settings. And it's going to ask us for what to do. So let's give it a decent name here. Windows 2K3, Windows SharePoint Services, Pattison book. And that way we'll know that it's the image that we're making specifically to be used with the Pattison book. So that's cool. We'll go over here, go to my home directory, and I already have a little directory set up called virtual machines where I can place them. I prefer to place my machines in a specific directory, but your mileage may vary. You can put them on portable drives or whatever. I'll hit save. And this opens up VMware's settings screen. We're not really going to do much with this. We only need to do a couple of things. Hard disks can remain the same. They're at 20. It's at 20 gigabytes, in case you wondered. If I double click on it, you'll see. Notice that you don't have much choice here. Okay, but we don't need to make this any bigger. One thing I would definitely recommend is keep it split into 2 gigabyte files. Always do this unless you have some reason not to. And never pre-allocate the disk space. Yeah, it will give you better performance, but you better have a lot of hard drive. And with as many virtual machines as a lot of people run, not a good idea. So we're good with that. Let's show all again. The only thing we're really worried about here is processors and RAM. Processors and RAM, you'll notice that it's configured for one virtual processor. This machine has more than one processor on it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that down and select 2. Notice that you can select up to 4. Be aware, selecting 4 can be problematic if you don't have more than 4 processors. Even with 4, there's still some issues with that. This is a beta product. So, and RAM. Always the question, how much RAM? The machine I'm running it on right now is my notebook. It has 4 gig of RAM on it. So what we want to do is, let's go ahead and give it a pretty decent amount of RAM. We'll say 3096. So we'll go ahead and give it 3 gig. It does mean that we probably aren't going to be able to run 2 at once, but we can always shrink it later if we want to. And you'll see now that we're set. Leave everything else the way it is. There's not really any need for it, and go ahead and close that. Now that you've done that, you'll see this here. I'll scooch it over a little bit. So this is our virtual machine library. Now we have a virtual machine. What we need to do is power it up. So we'll double click. And as you can see, the virtual machine begins to start. Now what we need to do is we need to select what version of Windows Server 2003 we're going to install. In this case, we are going to install Server Standard Edition. So we click on this, and we hit B. and enter. Windows begins to chew for a while, starts loading in some drivers. Now we're back. We need to select a licensing mode. In this case, per server. Go ahead and leave it alone. Click Next. And now that reason why I chose not to use the easy install. Right there. See that computer name? That's a randomly generated computer name. So that VMware has the ability to make computers and set them up in virtual machines without duplicate names popping up. But in our case, we know what our computer name needs to be. It needs to be Litware Inc. So LITWAREINC, Litware Inc. That's going to be the name of the machine because that's the machine's name in the Ted Pattison book. And of course, for our administrator password, we don't want to do anything crazy, so we'll just say password and password. I mean, if you're putting secret information on a virtual machine made for learning SharePoint, you probably deserve to have your stuff stolen. So once that's done, go ahead and hit next. And of course, it's going to complain, blah, blah, blah. In this case, I don't care, so hit yes. Don't change any of that unless you need to. And then it's going to chew again. And we'll be right back after that's done. Second part, we'll explore patching up your server to a known good baseline state. And thank you very much.